Hi, Lindy here, and thank you for joining my channel. If you are new to my videos, welcome. Today, I'd like to show you how I crocheted this pink and silver handbag. This is the sixth and final in my series on handmade bags. I've decided to approach this video slightly differently. As always, I videoed the progress of my making the bag, step by step. But when I look back at it, I decided it was just too overwhelming for someone who's starting to crochet. For those of you confident in crocheting, you may find this project to be fairly straightforward, and I didn't want to overwhelm those of you who are newcomers to crocheting. My feeling is always to motivate people who are starting a new craft, and I want it to be fun and exciting and not overwhelming. In fact, this is a good time to comment on a number of you who've written to me and said they'd like some more 101 tutorials. So I'm going to be doing those in the future. Please be sure to hit the subscribe button and you'll be notified when they're available. This pink and silver bag is made up in various parts. I've made separate videos of each part which describes it in detail. The base, which will teach you how to make a circle and also how to then go up the sides to make a bowl. The other videos are showing you how I made this cord, which is a tubular cord made with a knitting Nancy. And here is my knitting Nancy, a very simple knitting Nancy. You get lovely dolls, wooden dolls, and it's got these little nails on the top, and my video will show you how to use the knitting Nancy. And the final video is these tassels, which I made with the same yarn in the pink and the silver, and I hope you enjoy watching them. I'm going to describe how I made this bag by starting at the base. It's going to go up into a little barrel, and then the top is going to be silver. You'll then see in my descriptive part of the video how I let the silver run into the pink and the pink into the silver. And if you've made fair owls when you're knitting, it's the same style. A large part of the video is showing you how I weave these colors in and how I changed the threads. I have a timer at the bottom in the description, so if you don't wish to watch this part, please jump ahead. To go from the pink to the silver, I want the silver to run into the pink and the pink to run into the silver. So let me show you how I do this. So there are my 3 pieces of silver, and I'll start with the first piece, which I'll keep in the bag, and then I'll find the silver and I'll go in here, silver around, and slip it through. Now then, I tighten the pink, which is here, and I tighten the silver. The long piece of silver stays here, and I carry on holding the pink. So now I go into the next stitch with the silver here, and I just keep working the row in pink. So there's my piece of silver. I'm going to pull it tightly. There we can see it, but not, I pulled that a little bit too tightly and then it's going to vanish. So you don't want to pull it too tightly. You want to just make sure there is my piece of silver. Which if you've ever done fair owl knitting, this is the same thing. Now I've sewn back that, I've worked through that piece of silver, so I can cut this off, and fortunately this thread doesn't fray very badly, which means it's easier to work with. And it can start getting a little bit complicated, but you just got to keep remembering where everything is. Now I'm going to carry on with the pink. I know I've got 123 stitches, so I think I'm going to probably put some more silver in a third of the way. So that's like 40 stitches, just roughly. So we can do it however we wish. So now we're going to bring in the next piece. So we've got the first piece here, and we do exactly the same. So we hold that silver piece there, put our crochet hook back into the pink, and then we bring in the silver, and just slip it through. Now we carry on with the pink. We've got a piece here and here, and the next one's going to be here somewhere, the third piece of silver. So I'm going to keep going round until the silver's starting to show itself, and I'll show you what that looks like. So we can see now that the bowl of the bag is starting to form, and the little bits of silver which are going to come into the top of the bag are coming through. Then I pick up the piece of silver at the back underneath the pink, and then I go into the next stitch with the silver. We'll come back to the pink just now, and I go into the next silver, and then what I do is I just tighten up the pink a little bit, and I put that over the silver to weave it in, and I pull that forward, and then I do one more silver, taking in the pink, so now I'm starting to add in some more little bits of silver higher up, because we don't want just stripes coming down low. We want a few oddly put around here, and you can see how that's being done. And then when I get to a little bit higher, I'm going to have to start putting the pink into the silver, so we'll see how that's going to look. I placed it in this bowl overnight to give it a little stretch. I'm going to join the silver, and then what we're going to do is when I put the silver in, I'm going to let a little bit of pink come up into the silver, but not very far. So I've taken it out of the container now, and you can see it's making a really nice shape now. It's taken out the bumps. I'm going to cut down these little pieces of silver because I don't need these anymore, and I'm going to weave them back into the bag, and we're going to line this bag. And then again we're going to cut a few strands of pink. We're not going to do them too far into the silver. The top of the silver is going to be without pink. Now we're going to keep going around, but I'm going to immediately introduce some pink here. I'll start with my silver, which is the main part now. I take my piece of pink, in here, and I go around with the pink, and then I pull off the silver, and I hold the pink, and I go and weave the pink back in. And I've done 3 pink stitches, which is sufficient. So now I'm going to go and pick up the silver, which is here. you can see there's a little bit of pink. I'm going to taper it in, and here we are carrying on with the silver. You can see a few pinks having been introduced, just here and there. I think there were 5. So I'm going to carry on now with the silver going up and the pink coming into it. And then I would guess within a couple of inches, I'm going to phase out the pink and do just silver to get to the top. We get to the eyelets, which is where the tubular cord is woven through. I found this part got really complicated, and for those of you who've done this before, I know you'll catch on quite quickly. But let me show you how it works. And again, if you don't want to see this, please feel free to jump on. A simpler way to make the cord weave through to pull in would be at the top, where I've actually woven this back. You could thread a cord through and then just pull it from there. Here is a brief video of the eyelet process. What is happening is I've got 5 markers here, and where these markers are going to be eyelets, and we're going to have a tape that runs through these holes to pull it in. Now, to make these eyelets, I want to make them round, and I'm going to have to then, when they are completed, I'm then going to crochet a single crochet inside to neaten it up. But the way to make these circles is we need to, from the marker I started 1 stitch in, and I've gone up 3 rows, so from here 1, 2, 3, and each time I've decreased by 1 stitch. I then am going to have to complete it up a little bit straight and then in an arch, and then I can carry on from the top. So just a comment with when I did that is, because there is a right and wrong side to the bag, I had to keep moving in the same direction to stay on the right side of the bag, and you'll see how I did that in this video. Because this is the right side and this is the wrong side, I can't do a row and then turn around and go back the other way. So what I do is the following. I take a piece of silver, which is enough for 2 rows. I then start in the middle of the thread. So I've got 1 piece in the bag and 1 piece I'm working on. This is going to go straight up now. So I'll start on this stitch here, round, and 1 single crochet. And then I'll move all the way along here. And I'm going to go right to the end of this row. I'm just going to have enough of this yarn. I'm going to start the next row with this piece, and then I'm going to start increasing into a curve. So I did 3 rows decrease, 1 row straight, and now 3 rows increase, where I'll get back to the center here. Let's carry on with that, and I'll show you when I get to these circles once I get into a straight again. Here are the holes that I have created where the tape goes through. Eventually we're going to crochet round. Then what we'll do is we'll just keep going all the way around. I'll meet you when I get there. Here you can see the eyelets that I've worked, and they're going to be 5 of them. I've worked 3. Now when I've finished doing 2 rows there and there, I'll come back and show you how I'm going to line this. I then line the bag, which is actually a lot easier than one would think. This is going to be the sides of the bag, and this is going to be the base. Once I've stitched the circle in, which I'm going to stitch like this, and then I'll have the base and the sides. I'll meet you back here when that's done. Place the lining into the bag with the sewn edges against the sides of the bag. So that when you look into the bag, you don't see any of the sewn edges. Once I'd completed the silver up to here, I've done 8 double crochet rows. I'm not going to cut holes in here because I actually want to use this bag and I don't want things falling out of it. I'm going to tuck in these double crochets, and I made it as long as I had enough of this yarn, because when it pulls together and you see it open a bit, I want to see the silver, not the lining. So I'm going to catch the stitching all the way onto the lining to secure it. And finally, we're going to thread this through. And then you can decide how you're going to knot these. So I feel like they should be pulled in like that. And as you can see, I sewed this quite low down so that when it pulls in, you see the silver. And then we can just knot them like that, and off you go. My name is Lindy, and thank you for joining my channel. I hope you enjoyed my series on handmade bags, the last in my series, this pink and silver bag. I would be keen to hear if you have made any of my handmade bags. Take care and bye.